afternoon to Mr. Brueckner. We're here at the home of Mr. Ned Brueckner and his wife Betsy, and in Hurley, New York. And today is the 17th of October, 2010, and it's about 1:45 in the afternoon. And we're interviewing Mr. Brueckner for the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress. And I'm Bill Payne from the American Legion Post number 72, Lamry Hackett Post, Saugerties, New York. And with me is Alan Grzinski, who does our camera work. And I want to thank you very much, Mr. Brueckner, for agreeing to be interviewed today. As we discussed before, could you tell us, did you serve, were you drafted or did you enlist?
Yes, I was drafted.
Okay. You want to tell us a little bit how you found out you were drafted?
Well, it was kind of funny. I was in high school, and I had already had my pre-induction physical, and what they call pre-induction physical, up in Albany. Okay. And I was in high school, and it was a real bad snowstorm. And this was like on the 12th, 13th, no, it'd be about the 10th of February 1945. And we had a real bad snowstorm. So bad that the high school let us out early. Well, when they let us out, I had the induction card in the mail when I got home. And when you got that, when they told you you're going to have your induction physical up in Albany, you wasn't going to come home. And right to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, or right to Fort Dix.
So you were living in the Hurley area at that time?
Yeah, we're living in West Hurley, right down the road down here.
And you went to high school in
Kingston High School.
Okay. So off you went on the bus down to Fort Dix?
Right,
okay.
Down to Fort Dix.
Okay.
We were there for about 10 days.
Can you tell us what was it like there at Fort Dix? Were you just in training? You were in transit?
No, we were just in transit. We were just kind of getting ready to accept this whole thing.
And then you tell us that you went to Fort Bragg pretty much for boot camp, right?
Yeah, that was our training. I started out training on howitzers, and then we went from there and trained in telephones and that type of stuff, and just shooting all the guns and everything, the rifles, the pistols, the machine guns.
So your boot camp was actually was it in Fort Dix or in Fort
No, it was in
Fort Bragg?
Fort Bragg.
Okay, so you got your haircut, you got a uniform,
Yep.
learned how to march.
The whole thing.
Do you remember any of your instructors from back then?
Not, I remember them, but not by name.
Okay.
But I remember them well, but not by name.
Yeah. How'd you get through training, okay?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Okay, so you had no problem adapting to military life?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, no. I kind of enjoyed it. It was fun.
And this, of course, is during World War II, obviously.
Yes.
You served in World War II.
Yep.
So after Fort Bragg, what happened then? Where'd you go?
Well, like I say, they gave us 10 days to come home, and it was what they called a delay en route. And then from there I went back to Fort Meade. And there was more training, more marching, more training, more regimentation. And guarding, we were guarding German prisoners down there.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? How was that?
Yeah, that was, we were taking details of German prisoners out, and they were pretty hard to handle. Yeah. They were always looking at you like, you better not change, you better not look over your shoulder because we're going to be gone. Yeah, and that's the impression they gave. But along with that, it was funny. At night, you're on your own. Now you're on your own time. You'd be walking out of and you see a bunch of guys coming and they'd be singing. You couldn't understand what they were singing, but they would be singing. And they were Italian prisoners. They didn't have nobody guarding them. They had a green uniform and they had a little yellow diamond here, said Italy.
Okay. Yeah.
And they were all by themselves, having a hell of a time, having a good time. Yeah, not the Germans, though. You didn't see them walking around out there. No, no.
And this is in Fort Meade, Maryland?
Yep, that was in Fort Meade.
Okay. So you had the German prisoners doing work details?
Yep, doing work details, yeah.
Okay.
Garbage runs and that type of stuff.
Okay, and then from Fort Meade, Maryland, you headed out toward California?
We headed out to, I think, it was at Pittsburgh, California.
Okay.
And we stayed in Pittsburgh, California for about a week or 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then we marched, all of these places I can't remember. We marched to a ferry. We got on this ferry boat, and this ferry boat was out for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we come to a dock where we got off, and we waited to get on the ship to go over to the other side.
Mm-hmm. So you got on board this ship, the troop ship.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the ship at all?
Let's see, USS, yeah. Now, if it wasn't for this thing here, I'd have that right on the tip of my tongue.
I bet it'll come back to you later.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
Tell us about the cruise. How was the ship ride?
It was kind of hairy because it was almost like every half hour or so, a general they'd sound a general alarm, and we'd all have to run down where you slept, down in the bowels of the ship, and then you'd hear the guns going off. They'd be shooting at the mines they would see these mines and they would shoot them and blow them up.
Wow.
Then they'd let us back up until the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was all the way across.
All the way across.
Yeah.
I take it the mines were probably being laid by Japanese
Oh,
submarines?
sure.
Yeah.
Or the Germans, either one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
That would be in the Pacific. Yeah.
In the Pacific, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually, did you make any stops before you went to the Philippines? You told me you went to the Philippines.
Yeah, we stopped at an island, but I don't remember. I don't know whether it was in the Marianas or we stopped there, but I don't remember what it was for.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Were you able to get off the ship?
no.
No. Okay. Yeah. And then from there, the next stop was the Philippines.
Yes.
You went into Manila Bay.
Manila.
Uh-huh. Okay. You want to tell us about that?
Well, that was an experience because we laid out there for about 10 days. And of course, when they took us off, it was about the hottest day of the year. And there's no mistake, you could have had bacon and eggs on the deck. It was hot. But in any event, they unloaded us into an LST and took us in. And once they got us all in there, we started traveling and marching here and marching there, and we went up around Baguio, Baguio Mountain. Was you around Baguio, did you? Baguio Mountain. We went up around Baguio Mountain, and we camped right on the outskirts of Clark Field, right where Minatubo covered the ground with ash here just lately, here, when that exploded there. And we traveled around a lot, and then finally we came back and we settled around this prisoner of war camp.
Mm-hmm. And the prisoner of war camp was in the vicinity of Manila?
Well, it was, I would say probably like maybe a 15-mile truck.
Mm-hmm.
The truck couldn't go too fast because it was all dirt roads and stuff, but about 15 miles out along the China Sea there.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what was it like at the camp?
Well, it was quite interesting because the Japanese, you have to understand one thing, the Japanese did not want to go anywhere. You didn't have to worry about them going anywhere. You didn't have to worry about them escaping. They didn't want to escape. They wasn't going anywhere. They were done. And they knew that if they left us, they left our protection, so to speak, the Filipinos would have killed them. There's no mistake. And it was funny because the many times that we went down to Manila Harbor they would send LSTs full of Japanese prisoners in, and they told us that they were coming down from Okinawa, the Marines in Okinawa. In any event, as we would go, there would be maybe 10 truckloads, okay? And these trucks was like a coal truck. They didn't have they only had a short side, maybe about like that side. Then like your body from your waist up was out in the open, so to speak.
Yep.
So now you got all these Japs in there, and the truck is doing this, you know, hitting holes and breaking and going like this, and you're back there, you're trying to hold the Japs back up in the front with your rifle, and it was a mess. Well, just as soon as the first truck would go through through a village, the Filipinos would see that. Well, Jesus, now that they come, out they come, and they're throwing water. How about that? You want a drink? They're hollering. You want a drink? They're throwing it at them with a dipper. You know, you're throwing it at them, and then they were throwing rocks and glass, and oh, Jesus, it was a mess. I'll tell you, it's a wonder we didn't get killed.
These Japanese were being brought in from the other island campaigns.
Yeah, they told us they were bringing them in from Okinawa.
Okinawa.
Yeah, and they were bringing them in with these LSTs. And even the LSTs couldn't get in that far. They were it was deep water. You know, deep water for a Jap anyway, because they were kind of small anyway. You know, not all of them were 6-footers. You know, and as deep as far as they could get in, some of these it would be over the heads of some of these Japs, and a lot of them couldn't swim, or they were too sick to get in and stuff. So they'd shoot a line to them so that they could hang on to them, and a rope where they could hang on till we get them in, and get them on the on the trucks and get them back to the prison war camp. And there was this one thing I think you ought to know about. One day they came over with a kind of a high Jap officer in an airplane, in a Piper Cub with no doors on it. Didn't have no doors on it. And he had a megaphone, and he was going down. He was talking. He was yipping and yapping and going on. We didn't know what the hell he was saying. So he was going all around, you know, they were going all around. He was yelling out, and they were throwing these things out that I was telling you about, these folders, these surrender folders, telling the Japs that was out there, the soldiers that was out there, to quit. It's over.
Like a safe conduct pass, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that night we were going to set up lights. We were going to set up lights from the compound, and it was just like this right here. It was just like the reservoir here would be the rice paddies, and the mountains. You had the mountains, and they had 3 searchlights that these, you know, for the planes. And the 2 searchlights would be against the mountain over here, and the one would be across the rice paddies here. And they were to follow these lights out at night, and a lot of them surrendered in that way. And we bring them into the compound, make them take their clothes off, throw them in a pile, burn them, and give them a bar of saltwater soap each one, and chase them down the China Sea and have them wash up and come back. And then spray them with DDT with a flip bottle. Raise your hands. Can you imagine? They probably wouldn't want to hear that.
It's in there.
It's in there, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they would wear a uniform. We gave them a...
Well, they gave them, you wouldn't believe it, so this is how much you knew that they were going to escape. They gave them a camouflaged outfit. Honest to God. Everyone got fatigues. There were camouflaged fatigues. And each Jap got a camouflaged fatigues.
So they weren't going to run away.
They wasn't going to go anywhere.
No. Okay.
They didn't even need the barbed wire fence. They wasn't going anywhere.
No. You also told me that you helped load and unload ships in the port company.
Yep, we had a 616 port company.
616 port company.
Yeah. And we would load, usually unload ships, but a lot of times we'd have to load some stuff back onto Navy ships,
Yeah.
particularly. Yeah.
Now
You get down in those holes. That was tough going.
I bet. Yeah.
That was hot.
Yeah.
Well, hot enough outside, but then you get down 4 holes.
The war was still going on during this time, correct?
No, that was over. It was over by now.
Okay. All right. By that time, the war was over.
It was over by now.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were doing. See, they had these pamphlets telling the Japs that they give up.
Yeah. Okay.
It was over. And to come out.
So between the time you got drafted and the time you got over to the Philippines, the war came to an end.
Yes.
Okay. We just want to go back a little bit and tell us where were you when the war came to an end? Do you remember?
I think I was on my way over.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think I was on my way over at the time.
Okay. But there was no doubt you were going to keep on going over, right?
Oh, there's no mistake.
Yeah.
Because later on, we were told that we were delegates for the invasion of Japan.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
We probably wouldn't have come home.
Yeah. Now, you eventually did get onto the mainland of Asia. You were told us a little before. You went to Korea.
Yes.
You want to tell us about that, please?
Okay. We then I got transferred to Korea, and we took the Japs and put them on a ship and got them out of there. And of course, that was all Japanese-held property. And we took over a Japanese cavalry camp.
Oh.
And we put I think for about 14 months there.
You mentioned before that you thought this area was known as Jansen City Harbor in Korea.
Where we went in, they called it Jensen City Harbor.
Okay. And then you were in Daegu also?
And then they moved us to, we got on a train, bitter cold it was, and we went to Daegu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about that Japanese camp?
The prison camp itself, you mean?
Well, you said you took over a Japanese camp.
A Japanese where they had horses and everything there. Cavalry camp. Yeah. And we disinfected everything and just kind of moved in.
You told us in some ways it was like an American camp.
It was the very same thing as the American, only it was stuccoed. It had a concrete stucco on the outside, on the outside of it. And they burned down real easy too.
Oh, really?
Because one right alongside of us burned down.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What caused the fire? Did anybody know?
They did know. You know what they'd done? They started to have, somebody got the good idea, I guess maybe it was a good idea, that there was disease being transferred, because of the wood floors and stuff like that. So somebody got the idea, well, we ought to oil the floors.
Yes, okay.
And they did.
Yeah, right.
And they oiled all the floors. Now, they're wood floors, right? Well, plank floors. They oiled them all down, everything, right? Well, they think that that's what started the fire, the combustion, the heat down, because there was about that much room in between the ceiling and the floor up above.
Yeah.
And they think it was spontaneous combustion. So what they done then, well, they couldn't take the oil off. The oil was stuck there, right?
Yeah.
So they cut holes into it and loosened the boards and just laid the boards back in loose. And I don't know whether that done it or not. It didn't have any more fires anyway.
Could you tell us a few of your more memorable experiences during that time, and then things people did for humor and to entertain themselves?
Well, the one sad thing that happened to me there, I don't know whether you want to hear it or not.
We do.
I had a good friend. His name was Kohler, John Kohler, and he was from Pennsylvania. And he went on guard. He went on guard with me, and he was going to drop off at the ice house in Korea, and I was going to go down about another 3 miles to to the railroad station in Korea, in Daegu.
Yep.
And during the night, he got killed. He got shot and killed.
Oh.
Yeah. And so poor, he didn't get home.
How did he get shot?
They shot right over the fence. They leaned over the fence and shot him.
Japanese?
The Koreans.
Oh, the Koreans.
Yeah.
Oh. So some of the Koreans were hostile?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah? Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, he, you know, we've always been suspect. See, what happened is there was, if you went on guard during the day, and then you were off for a few hours, and then you went back at night, the same spot at night. So if you'd done the ice house, you'd done the ice house one day. So in the afternoon and then at night. And this one guy, he kind of got in trouble all the time, and he always had trouble with the people, you know.
Okay.
And whether he got in trouble with somebody over there and they came back looking for him that night, he traded the spots with Kohler.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
So Kohler goes down and takes his spot, and he gets shot and killed.
So it was more like a personal thing. It wasn't like, let's say, the communists already started.
No, I think it was a personal thing.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah.
Violent time, violent place.
Yeah.
You tell us before about some of the ladies selling their fruits and vegetables and like that.
Oh, that was in the Philippines.
Yeah, tell us about that, please.
Yeah, that was. They would get this basket up on top of their head, squared their head off with a rag, and they would walk along the road with this thing of fruit to sell. And of course, they had their homemade cigars, and it was about 1 foot long and about 2 inches in diameter in the middle. It was always comical to see, and it was funny, yeah. But it was a good experience, you know. You see how the other half lives.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you generally have good food and good supplies for yourselves, or?
Well, when we got into the Philippines, we didn't get very good food. No, there were many days that you'd get in the chow line and you wait in the chow line and you walk the chow line and you walk for about 2 hours in the chow line. When you got up there wasn't anything there to eat. You say, what the hell was I in the chow line for then?
So,
yeah,
did you have a fallback position in order to get food, or?
Yeah, there wouldn't be nothing there.
No? You wouldn't be buying the local people's fruit, would you?
No.
No. You told me about how they used a certain kind of fertilizer for that purpose.
Yeah, that was Korea.
Oh, okay.
That was they used human dung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honey dipper.
Honey dipper in their barrel.
Yeah.
In their barrel.
Yeah.
He carried a barrel, little old man, you know, with a big beard, you know, down, had a barrel of crap on the back there, walking down the street. Oh, it smelled good too. Terrific, particularly in the heat in the summertime.
So you didn't have you mentioned you never got any entertainers over there. What did people do with their spare time? Did they?
There wasn't much to do.
Yeah.
Wasn't much to do. And that's why I wanted that Jeep.
Tell me about the Jeep.
Yeah, the Jeep. That was good.
Now you mentioned you were private first class.
Yeah, yeah. The funny part of it is before Kohler got killed.
Yeah.
Before Kohler got killed, he was a really good guy, and he knew that I like a bottle of beer.
Yeah.
Okay? And he also knew that I smoked cigarettes. So he would give me his ration every time we get a ration, and you know, so that I'd wind up with 2 cases of beer and 2 cartons of cigarettes. So it was great. Okay, so I'd get them from Johnny Kohler before that poor devil got killed. So it was kind of funny. We were getting soldiers over there that a lot of them was in trouble in the States. They picked them out of they would pick them out of a prison or something over here and tell them, look, you go over there and you serve over there for so long, we'll give you a discharge so you can get the hell out.
Yeah.
They would take it.
Yeah.
Wasn't that all that bad. And we were winding up with, I remember one guy by the name of Marquedo, and he hit an officer. He punched an officer, and he got put in prison. And they gave him that deal. If you go over there, we'll look differently at you. And he was over there. He was a nice guy. No problem. But anyway, we were getting a lot of them. and this one day, I had two slips for two things of beer, 2 cases of beer. So so now the work was all done and for the day, and we were getting ready to go down, have some beer. So here is a guy sitting. All he got is a white T-shirt on, and he's sitting there. So I'm thinking he's probably one of those prisoners, but I ain't saying anything to him. So I'm figuring he's probably one of those guys from that prison back there. Right? So I started out and I thought, shit, what do I care if he's from a prison or where the hell he's from? I went back to him and I says, hey, I said, why don't you come down and have a beer with us? He said, no. He says, no. He says, I ain't got no card anyway. I said, yes, you have, right here. I says, here's one right here. Yeah. I said, come on, let's go. Yeah. So now I had a case of beer and he had a case of beer. So down we go, and we go, well, what the hell happens? He turns out to be the first sergeant.
Yes.
He ain't no prisoner. The next day he comes out in the uniform. I says, who the hell is that? What the hell? What the hell's going on here? Yeah, he was the first sergeant. Can you believe that? Well, Jesus, from that point on, I couldn't do no wrong.
I figured you were promotion material.
Yeah. So he's the one who put the machine gun thing on my bunk. And I said,
tell us a little bit that. You said you came back and found a machine gun manual.
Yeah, I was on guard, and I came back, and here was a 30 caliber water-cooled machine gun manual on my bed. And I said to somebody, did somebody leave their manual here? Who owns this manual? Oh, no, that's your manual. I said, this ain't my manual. I said, whose manual is it? It's your manual. I said, it ain't my manual. I took it back down to Sergeant. I think his name was Dugan. I took it down to him. I said, Sergeant, I said, here's a machine gun that was on my bunk. He says, yeah. He says, that's yours. He says, we're going to make you sergeant before you go home. I said, you ain't making me sergeant. No, I don't want it. Forget it. Forget that. Why? I says, I just don't want it. I says, you know what? I says, if I become sergeant, I says, now I'm on guard now 75% of the time. If I get sergeant, I'll be on it for 95% of the time. I said, I don't want it. Forget it. So he says to me, he says, well, he said, we wanted to send you home as a sergeant. I said, don't be nice to me. I said, I don't want it. He said, well, what can we do for you? I said, I want a Jeep. He said, you want a Jeep? He said, what do you want a Jeep for? I said, so I can get around and see things before I leave here. He says, oh, well, all right. He says, yeah, well, we already got a sergeant in the motor pool. I said, I'm telling you, Sarge, I don't want to be no sergeant. I said, all I need is a Jeep. Okay, we'll give you a Jeep. So from that point on, I had a Jeep, and it was fun. And then we had a good time.
We had a good time. Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing. If you have the time, do you have the time?
You got the time.
Yep.
Okay. I'll tell you one thing. Having that Jeep, I had it parked outside, and I went upstairs. And I looked out the window and I see a column of smoke. I thought, Jesus, that's funny, I see a column of smoke, And I looked at it for a long time and it kind of went right up straight like this. Column of smoke, big black smoke. A long ways away. So I said, well, with that, I went on. And that night, I came back in, I looked, the column of smoke is still there. Following morning, column of smoke is still there. That afternoon, column of smoke is still there. So I went over to the mortar platoon, and I got a pair of glasses, binoculars. And I looked over and I said, I can't really see what it is, but I said, there's quite a fire over there. I said, why would it be burning for 2 days now? Okay? What the hell is that, So I said to somebody, I says, come on, let's take a ride in the Jeep. I said, we'll go over and see what the hell it is, So over we go. It's by the ways. Over we go. And it will come to find out it was a dump. It was a dump. And there they had a mound of bodies as long as my house here.
Wow.
And it was at least 10 or 12 feet high. All bodies.
Wow.
All you seen was feet and legs and heads and arms and the more wealthier people, they would have their dead all done up in a wicker. in a wicker bag, and they would throw them on the heap. So what you'd have is you'd have a pile of people, some sticks and stuff like that, and oil. Pile of people, some sticks and stuff like that, a pile of people like that, right on up, pile of people. And burn them.
Wow.
So what the hell is this? Wow. So I went back and I got a hold of the captain. I said, "You see that pile of that smoke over there, Captain?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "That's all people burning." He said, "You're foolish." I said, "No." I said, "I just went over there with my Jeep." I said, he says, "Take me over." So over we go. He says, "What the hell is going on here?" So he says, "There's a hospital up on top of the hill over here." He says, "Take me up to that hospital." Well, we go to this hospital, and there was no place to walk. There was the aisle, the people was all laying there, great people moaning and groaning. Jesus, right? I said, "Well, I ain't going in." I said, "You go in." I said, "I'm not going in. I'm going to go." It was all cholera.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Wow.
It was the cholera epidemic of 1946.
Wow. Yeah. And this is in Korea, huh? Gee. Wow. That's why you got those 9 shots before you went over.
Yes, yes. One of them was a
Collar.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know something, it didn't surprise me either, because down in the train station, you know how they have these, how they have these little boxes, wooden boxes set up with a petcock and be water, right? And the petcock was always running, not wide open, but it was always leaking.
Yeah.
Either something would be wrong with it. It was so that thing was always full of water, Okay, and it was leaking. Okay, and then a train would come, and these people are animals, and they would be hanging, and you couldn't see. The only thing you could see was a smokestack. Now, don't forget, these were all locomotives. These were all steam engines.
Yeah.
And the only thing you could see was the steam engine. Everything else was people.
Yeah.
Hanging all over, hanging out, hanging in, hanging up on the top, hanging up the lights. Jesus Christ, all over the place. You wouldn't believe it. So it was, and particularly the women, it would be all flowing, beautiful clothes, all, and they would be flowing like that, and they'd be hanging on like this. The train is going, right? Well, there'd be some guy there, he's going to take a leak, and he aims himself out the window, and he's taking a leak as the train is going by, and it's running right in that square. Now the train stops, they get down there, and they have a drink at that square. He just peed in it. Can you imagine? So it didn't surprise me of this cholera. I mean, it's all in water.
Yeah.
It's all in bad water.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Now, we talked about your medals that you were awarded, and I'll take a picture of your medals there. And you were awarded the Army Good Conduct Medal, and we got a shot of that for you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we have the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal for serving in World War II in the Asiatic and Pacific Campaign, and World War II Victory Medal, and then the Occupation Medal for being involved in the occupation of Japan. And
Korea.
And then Korea as well, because Korea was basically occupied by Japan before
Yes.
we got there.
Yes. Yes.
And you have the Rifle Expert Badge and the service pen for having been honorably discharged from military service, which we know was sometimes referred to as the ruptured duck.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the ruptured duck. Yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So you made your way back to the States. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a funny thing too, and I often tell the kids about this, my children and stuff like that. When we left,
Yeah.
we're going to go back to 1945. When we left, there was a rainy day. We were on the wharf, and there was something over the top of us, whether it was a nail or what. But there was a rainy day, and we wasn't getting rained on, but it was cold and nasty there in California. Funny. And the guys, they had a big brass band there, okay, and the whole 9 yards. And they're running around with hot coffee and crullers, and the Red Cross was there with pouches with fishing line and buttons and hooks and everything into it. And it was a grand old time. So while you're going up, you're loading on the ship, right, to go. I think the name of it was the Duchess,
Okay.
the USS Duchess.
Okay.
Pretty sure. Anyway, that was our send off. We
Yeah.
got the brass band, and we got these fish hooks
Mm-hmm.
and some line in case we wind up in the drink,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. It was great. When we came back, there wasn't a goddamn soul there. You could have shot a cannonball right down the wharf and never hit a soul. Hello.
Things are different.
There wasn't a soul there. There wasn't a soul. We were getting off the ship, there wasn't a soul there.
You
Nobody.
mentioned that you went by way of the Aleutian Islands.
When we came home, we left Korea.
Left Korea.
Yeah, we left Jansen City Harbor again.
Okay.
We left there.
Mm-hmm.
What they call it, Jansen City Harbor. I don't know what the real name of it is.
Yeah.
And they gave you a map,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so to show your progress,
Yeah.
daily progress.
Yeah.
So each day you show a mark, and then the next day you see another mark. Next day, okay, on up. And we went up, and for what reason, I don't know. We went up around the Aleutians like this and came back down
Yeah. Okay.
like this to, I think it was Oakland.
Okay.
I think we came into Oakland.
Mhm.
And the worst part of it is we hit a storm up there. It was a terrible storm.
No.
And where I was sleeping,
Mhm.
okay, my bunk where I was sleeping
Mhm.
had the wall was right here.
Yeah.
Sheet metal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
On the other side of that was the kitchen.
Yeah. Okay.
And they had in this kitchen they had like wagons, and they actually had china in there,
Mm,
dishes,
yeah.
and
Right.
cups and everything. It was nice, yeah, right. Well, those things broke loose, and when the ship come up like this, all you heard was crash. Then it comes down around here, and they were crash all night long. I'm thinking to myself, when am I getting off of this goddamn thing before it sinks? Can you imagine? Oh, God. So when you're looking for, you know, you're scared. You're scared because we actually thought the ship was going to tip over. It was going so low that it would scoop up the water on this side.
Mm-hmm.
And when it got here, the water come down like this, and then went down the other side.
Yeah.
Then it would scoop, and it would go up the other way, scoop this up, and do the same thing all over again. Yeah. And it was a lot of water. It was not no little stream. It was like that deep. If you got into it, it'd take you hell overboard.
Yeah.
That was comical. That was funny. It was scared us. It was funny. And the funny part of it is you had to eat out of your mess kit then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good thing you had a mess kit. You'd be eating out of your hand.
So then you came back to the States after your big welcome home.
Yeah, after the big welcome. Yeah, here we are. Hello.
Where'd you go then, dude?
Well, then of course we got on the Santa Fe Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
We got on the train.
Yep.
Took us, I think, 7 days to get across. Can you imagine that? A train, 7 days to get across.
Mm-hmm.
And we got outside of Jersey,
Uh-huh.
down a little ways, and they burned a bearing, and that took up a day to get another wheel on it or whatever the hell they do.
Yep.
And finally we got going again, and we got into Fort Dix again.
Where's the-
Yeah.
And this was 1946?
Yeah, that would be the end of 1946.
Okay. So then you were getting out of the Army then?
Yes.
You discharged at Dix?
Yes.
Okay. So then you came back home. You tell us what you did after that?
Well, I came back home and I went right to work. I went to work in a boiler, Ashley's boiler, you know, and that was a rotten job, and I had no trade.
No.
You know, I had
Yeah,
no
no
trade.
trade. Yeah.
So I got the GI Bill,
GI Bill? Yeah.
GI Bill, and I went to Schenectady welding school,
Hmm.
and the GI Bill, which was, without that I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And came out and never lost a day's work from that point on till the day I retired.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
You mentioned that you worked for Central Hudson a good part of the time?
35 years.
Yeah, that's the power company up in this part of New York.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of work did you do with
I was a pipeline welder.
pipeline welder? Okay.
a day's work.
And of course you got married. And,
Yep, I got married in 1951. With my bride there.
still married.
After 59 years, she's still, chasing me around the house.
So now you're retired and you...
Yeah, I retired in 1986.
Okay.
After 35 years there,
Yeah.
and I've been enjoying it. Beautiful.
Can you tell us how you feel like your military experience affected your life? And
It was, it's like I said before. It's great to see how the other side lives, and how would I ever be back in the Philippines? How would I ever go to the Philippines if I was just without being in the Army or Korea? I mean, not that I really loved the place when I got there, either one of them, but it was a good thing to see. And now you appreciate it. You didn't appreciate it then, but now you do. You know.
did you join a veterans organization or anything like that?
Yeah, I burned. I'm in both. Betty got me a lifetime card in both VFW and American Legion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you stay active with those, or do you have...
Not really. I don't got time.
Just never, because you have other things going on, eh?
Yeah. I don't got time. I'm always building something. Always doing something.
Do you ever attend any reunions or keep in touch with any of the folks you serve
No.
with? No. Huh?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add on here, or anything we haven't covered?
I used to tell the story about there was where we were there along the name of it was Fernando Valley. What the hell was it? Where we were stationed. Where was stationed? What was that?
California?
No, it was in the Pacific. Yeah.
In the
Well,
Philippines?
I'll tell you a good story.
Yeah.
I had a group of Japanese out with us one day,
Yeah. Okay.
and the Army engineers and they were cutting a landing strip right out of the jungle. Okay.
The Philippines? Yeah.
In the Philippines, and what we needed, they had it all leveled off and they had it all tamped. It's all sand,
Yeah.
and I had it all tamped and good, and now we needed to put down that corrugated stuff with all holes into it, and it fit together like a rector set,
Yep.
And we turned that over to the Jap prisoners.
Yeah.
It was hot as hell in there, so we let them do it. We're used to the heat, right?
Yeah.
So they came and they done a good job. They put the wires, the strings through it and everything, got them all straightened out, got them all everything. Oh, it was good. And while that was happening, I had about 10 prisoners, and then my buddy had 10 prisoners, and then somebody else had 10 prisoners. We were out on the shores of the China Sea, and I was looking out, and I didn't say anything for any particular reason to do this, but I had a pair of glasses. They were jet glasses,
Oh, yeah.
binoculars. I don't even know where I got them. And I'm looking out there just for that, and I did spot something that I couldn't see with my naked eye. I did see something. I said, "What the hell is that?" I'm looking at it, and it looked like it had red onto it. So I turned the glasses over to somebody else. I says, "Right straight out there." I says, "You can't see it with naked eye." But I says, "Take a look out there. See if you see something." He says, "Yeah." He says, "I do." He says, "There's something about it." I said, "Well, we're going to see what that is." So the next day we get a boat. We get a boat. We roll out. Right? Nosy, right?
Yeah.
So we're rolling out. It's out there a long ways. Well, it's out beyond your eyesight, so it ought to be out there a good ways. Right? So we're rolling out. And finally, it comes into view that it was what are these things that they stick up out of the water to direct the ships?
Oh, boy.
Buoy.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
Buoys. Yeah. And there was a whole bunch of them out around like this, like that, around in a circle, great big circle. Like that. So we didn't want to go inside there because we didn't know what it was, and we're looking. There, and the boat started to that was going all the while. Perpetual. It was, and if we'd have gotten there, there'd been no supper time that night. And it ran around. It was a great big thing.
Yeah.
You could have thrown 4 of these houses in it.
Yeah.
A great big thing.
Yeah.
There was a ship down in there.
Oh.
If you got on the outsides of the buoys, okay, you could see a ship down there. I don't know whether it was an American ship or a Jap ship or what. I don't know. Then another day, while they were putting these things down for the landing thing there was a Japanese ship that had burned, and from all practical purposes, if you're looking at the ship, it's out in the water maybe about 50 yards. About 50 yards, it's out there.
Yeah.
And it's just right sideways like this. And you don't see a thing. That's funny, you know. Well, you know how they have on the ships, they can let the ladder down. They can let the ladder down, there's a swivel here, and they let the ladder down and got cables on it, like that, okay? Well, the cables and everything was burned off, and this ladder was like this now.
All right.
Okay, so instead of the treads being this way, they were this way. Okay, so a couple of guys there, they got a wild idea. Well, I'm going up on the top. I said, I'd like to go up on the top too. But there was chunks falling off of it because the water was aggravating it like this, and you could see pieces of rust falling off. And then when they got on it, it was even worse. I'm thinking to myself, well, geez, I want to go home.
Yeah.
I don't want. If I get up there, and now you're going up sideways, you're going up like this, you know. And this thing because it's sideways.
Yeah.
And the pieces that's falling off, it's all rusty. It's all rusted from the fire.
Yeah.
Apparently. Yeah. And they were going to start up. I said, I'm not going to do that. I said, I'm afraid that thing's going to come down. It'll be just my luck. I'll be the first one down. The goddamn ladder will be on top of me, and I'll be dead. I ain't going to do that. So I went around to where the fan was, not the fan, but the propeller was.
Yeah.
Okay, I went around with the propellers 3/4 out of the water.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went around and I'm looking at the propeller over and stuff like that, and I happened to look like this, and I thought, oh my Christ, here's a hole.
Yeah.
And here's a hole. It's as big as this room, right straight up through it. I said, well, hell's bells. I get up on top of the shaft. The shaft, I got up on top of that, and I walked over to the edge of it, and I started climbing this thing, and I was up on the top before they got there. I said, hi, fellas, how are you? How did you get up here? I said, I came through the hole. It was a big one, too. It was a torpedo. It was funny. But that was just some of the things that happened. It's comical to think about, you know.
Well, I'm glad you got back alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me too. Well, I didn't take my chances, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't take no chances.
Well, I don't know, walking on that ship.
I know.
Well, we want to thank you very much for